Hello? 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 Oh, I think so. Hello? 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 Okay. Is that good?
Let's just go to Lake Ewan.
Okay. Hello? My husband always sits here and helps. Hello? Well, this way. Okay, okay. That's where the meeting is. No one's talking.
Hey, Brenda, can you hear us?
Oh, yes, I can.
Okay,
Test,
great.
test.
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Loud
you.
and
We can hear you fine.
Okay, great. I'm so sorry. I'm a little low tech here.
No worries. All right, let's call the meeting to order at 9:04. Okay, we'll do roll call. Gary? Joe?
Here.
Joe is absent. Barb? Yep. Ellie is not here. Susan? Jeff? Here. Brenda?
Here.
And Brenda is joining us.
In La Quinta at a coffee shop.
Quinta, but that appears to have been deleted from the agenda that I sent. That's okay. We have a quorum otherwise. Okay, so we will move on to oral communications for items that are not on the agenda. I noticed one person on the Zoom. Do you have something you want to say? I think it's Karen Batra, maybe. Feel free.
I don't have anything to say.
Okay, Rita. Karen, I think you're here for the new business items, yeah. Okay. All right, so we have the minutes sent around from our February meeting. They're short and sweet. Any corrections that anyone thinks are needed? None that I saw. Looks like there's a space needed on B, but otherwise, do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Okay. Brenda?
Yes,
Okay. That's you're voting to approve the minutes, yes?
yes, I did read them and yes, I do approve. Sorry, I didn't hear.
Okay.
I was just yes.
All right, so those are unanimously approved. Okay. Carrying over the signage on trails issue, this was about e-bikes plus warning against fire. I have not made much progress on this. Have explored a couple of different options, but no real tangible progress to show anyone yet. But keeping it on here to make sure that we follow up on it. I don't believe we have a trail maintenance report from the town bill. All right.
Can
Mary,
I ask
is there
who is in charge of?
Yeah, so I was gonna say, is there someone who should we reach out to for the trail maintenance report now? I mean, in Howard's absence. Okay. Oh, sure. What we used to have, so Howard used to come here and he would summarize all the work that was done. And without him, we're not getting that summary. So I'll maybe follow up with you about how we can best do that. Yeah. Or even just get a log from PV Connect. I mean, if PV Connect is
Well,
producing,
they do more than what is
In PV Connect?
PV Connect,
Okay.
right? In fact, substantially more. So they have regular scheduled maintenance, so just maybe get the schedule would be, because that is the same pretty much every year.
okay. Okay.
Maybe we could just give them one of Howard's old reports,
Yeah,
and if they could just mimic that, it would be fine. Those reports were great.
Because the reason being that people write in or do the PV Connect and then they never hear back. And then they'll come and they say, well, we said this, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, well, in the past, we could follow up and say, well, where are we on this? And that was what was so useful. Yeah.
But didn't we have it, we already have a template in place, right? In terms of,
The one Howard did was fine.
right, so why can't we just kind of go with that and have
Yeah,
them
just give
fill
'em a
in
c-
what
give
they
'em a
do?
copy
Just,
of it.
you know, it lists all the trails, and if somebody works on Toyon, 1.5 hours cutting brush, that kind of thing. I don't think it's really, we don't have to reinvent the wheel is my point.
I'll follow up and we'll get it, and we can actually maybe add it to our 4A. So, okay. So on new business, we have a presentation that we're going to be delivering to the council. It's now on April 23rd, I believe. I signed up to give it. Y'all are welcome to come, but you don't have to. And the purpose of it is to talk about our goals for this year for the committee. And so rather than just write something up myself, I thought it would be good to have an open discussion here about what goals we think we should have this year and some notion of the priorities of those goals to share with council. Does that make sense? So the first one, and Karen maybe can comment on this, who I think is joining us. The first one is that I would like us to have a comprehensive plan for the new trails we'd like to see in town. I think there are a couple of different opportunities. There's one that Karen, maybe I'll leave to you to talk about how it's kind of come about. There's still, I think, some work to do. There's, you know, the Willowbrook one that connects Willowbrook and basically Corte Madera School. If we could formalize that. And again, I'm not suggesting that we have to formalize any of them, but I think the more that we could do as a committee to take any kind of informal trails and get them to be more permanent, I think would be a generally good thing. So that's one item that I have is sort of new trails. Karen, do you want to comment on the, I believe you call it the North Trail?
Yes, Brenda, could you mute yourself if you're not talking? It's hard to, it's cutting in and out on Zoom.
Yep.
Mute.
Well,
Okay, so, but then, okay, let me.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, so the North Trail came about because, well, it's been an informal trail that the people who live nearby have been using for a long, long time. And it came about as I'm a member of the Planning Commission, and I'm speaking for myself, not the entire Planning Commission. So I'm speaking myself as a member of the public. The Priory Gym just got approved last week by the Planning Commission and in the new CUP. And during that discussion, I spoke with Patrick Ruff and I showed him the North Trail, which he actually wasn't even aware existed. And it's actually one of the loveliest spots in town. And I know somebody who lives in the ranch and it's his favorite trail because it has some really nice views and it's kind of more open and less kind of I don't want to use the word tunnel, but it's more open. And walking that trail, a lot of the local people use that. It's kind of a nice little short, kind of a walk more than a hike. And over the years, it's been there for a long time, and part of it is really narrow. And when it's the open part, and then it kind of wiggles around in various different configurations through some redwood trees, which is really nice because we don't have them over in this part of the town. And then it ends up on Georgia Lane. And it's in actually really good condition. I was kind of surprised that it holds up during the rains now. It wasn't true in the past. So what's exciting about this is I think if it was become a public trail, we could kind of make it more clear where to go, especially in kind of when it wanders here and there. And so that would improve the condition and improve kind of like the general area so that if it was, this is where you go, the places that you're not that you're not supposed to go would become more natural, and that we could slightly widen the trail when it goes through the grasslands and kind of relieve the priority of whatever they are or not doing there. And I know Patrick Ruff has concerns about understanding what does that mean to give an easement? What doesn't it mean? So perhaps at some point we get the town attorney involved just briefly to clarify those issues, because I think we're all kind of guessing around that a little bit. And then I had another idea this morning that would be kind of cool if we do choose to clarify the trail, that would make that kind of a town project. And I know council member Craig Taylor has mentioned this in the past. It'd be kind of cool to have that be an activity. And I know the Sierra Club does this regularly, and that we could kind of like figure out kind of something where we could have a community day where we could do some actual trail work, which probably wouldn't be that hard. And so that would help with the finances, and we could perhaps even do some financing. I believe that we could probably generate some amount of money from the community. So that's just sort of my general thoughts on this. I'm really excited about it. I like that trail. I'm not particularly far away from it, and I would use it, semi-regularly. So I'm happy to help as a member of the community on making that happen. So that's sort of my little speech. Thank you for indulging me.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining and sharing that. Just to orient folks who are wondering exactly where the trail is. So it connects Sawsell Trail with Priory Trail. So there's that loop of 3 trails. There's Hillbrook Trail, there's Priory Trail, and Veronica Trail that form that loop behind the Priory. And then this trail goes from the westernmost part of that loop and then connects down to Sawsell. Runs kind of along offensive trees at the end, although it's unclear actually. There's sort of 2 trails. There's one kind of along the fence and then one that's not. I have it here on this map if you all want to come take a look. It's this segment right here. So yeah, I think that's that I think is the perfect example of the kind of trail that I have in mind of like, let's preserve it for posterity.
Does it exist on Priory property right now?
Yes.
So there's options here. And I know Karen, you're thinking way down the road, but I just.
And we don't need to solve
Yeah.
this one here today.
No, but what I want to point out is that we don't have to have easements. They don't have to grant easements to the town. They could keep it a private trail, just like Westridge trails are private, and leave it open to the public. The California state law identifies them from any kind of,
Indemnified.
indemnifies.
Yeah.
For any kind of accidents that may occur on a public trail. And if it's not graded, they don't even have to put up signs indicating any type of hazard or something like that. So if it could be done very easily if Priory would just have it as their own private trail open to the public. They maintain it. The only reason to give the town an easement is if they would want the town to maintain it, which then lends to your other, Karen's other discussion about how to pay for it. Priory's been maintaining it so far. It's a very well maintained trail. I don't know if they would consider continue to maintain it, but it would be really easy if all they would have to do is to say, yeah, it's open to the public, put it on your map, have their lawyers make sure they're held harmless, and you're done.
Yeah. Okay. So I think these are the kinds of discussions we want to have in terms of getting the new trails. So that was one idea that I had to kick off. Ellie, welcome. We're having a discussion around our priorities for the year. What are the things that we'd like to accomplish? What are the things that we'd like to see done? This one is, getting new trails, sort of getting informal trails recognized more formally. That makes it easy for them. It's my suggestion. We don't actually have to necessarily even agree that it is a priority, but I thought I would at least kick off this discussion with an idea. So I will pause and we can open up the floor for other thoughts of priorities. We're going to give, sorry, the last piece of information is we're going to give a presentation. I'm going to give a presentation to the council next month about what our priorities are, and so that we can coordinate with them. They can give feedback to us. That was for the most brilliant committee, or we're out to lunch, depending on how they feel.
So I would suggest that we make it a priority to resolve the trail easement issue on Sawsell Trail along the White's property. I know that they were open to doing that. And we, if you remember when Liz went down and got the actual, what's it, 1904 easement handwritten, that would cost a little bit of money, but right now it's a little risky that if someone were to buy the White's house and then decide they didn't want the trail, they can just close it because there's no easement there. So making that a priority would be, I think, a good idea.
Yeah.
Was just curious, if we've come to a final agreement on the wedge, not the wedge anymore, whatever it's called, the trails there, because I know we were up for discussion, and so I think that we need to follow up with that as well, and the Canyon Trail.
Yeah, so the next step for the wedge would be,
And for those not who don't know what the wedge is, I believe it's called Portola Terrace. is
yeah,
the name of
Portola
it.
Terrace.
Yeah.
I apologize. So I call it the wedge.
Those of us who know what the map looks like, wedge makes a lot of sense.
So if you followed the approvals that were completed by the Planning Commission and the Town Council, the Canyon Trail is formalized. It is continued all the way down to Alpine Road behind the houses. That's a done deal. What is the next step is to form a working group that will study trails, study that Fire Road as a trail, and then trails continuing off the Fire Road over to Canyon Trail. And Stanford agreed to participate in that working group.
And fund,
And,
like
and fund it and partially, yeah.
$150,000.
I don't know if it really needs a lot of funding. I think Mary had ideas about how to get it done without a lot of funding. But I don't know when that's going to start, but we should make that a priority to get our, I think we have one person, Planning Commission has one person, I can't remember the makeup, but we have one person that has to be on that group. So we need.
I think I'm going to codify this one as follow up on Portola Terrace trails.
Yeah,
Trail plan.
trails.
Yeah. Trails. No, that's a great one. You're right.
To add to that recommendation, the idea was that Stanford agreed to put in the trails before construction began, which is what we've always done with Blue Oaks, or with any of our, quote, development trails. We've always done that. For example, Priory, before Priory was put in, before they did those sales, we put in those trails. That's why we've been using them for the last 15 years.
So Stanford still has to go for building permit and building permits. And they also have to do another traffic study of some sort. Do you have any idea when building will actually commence over there?
No.
Okay, so we have some time, but that should be.
But I think, yeah, still getting the follow up, getting our ducks in a row.
Well, the little ranch, people have been told to evacuate by the end of April, so I take it that they're getting ready to do something.
Oh, the horse.
And I have a suggestion. I don't know how the committee feels about this, but to make it a priority to comment on the Hawthorne's conditional use permit application when it comes before the town. So the Hawthornes had their own process, and there was a working group, and I think it was Karen on it, somebody was on it, but Mayor Wernickoff was on it, but we were not part of that process. with the idea being is once they figured out what they wanted to propose to the town as part of a conditional use permit, we would then be able to comment on it. So I think we should make it a priority to, when that conditional use permit comes before the town, that we agendize it, we have a discussion, and we make recommendations to the town as to what we would like to see as part of that conditional use permit. And it may be exactly what they want. It may be different. I don't know. That's why we should have the discussion.
Yeah, I think I would say the list of priorities for us at this juncture are Alpine Trail, getting that
Yeah.
fixed, I'll just say, moved in, enhanced, et cetera. Making sure that there's multi-use in the trails that are in there, and then making sure the connection study actually happens, rather than just sort of leaving it out there.
And maybe parking too, you know, the way they're proposing parking kind of messes up Alpine Trail, right?
Yeah.
So that has to get reconciled.
Yeah, that's.
I don't have the answer, but I'm just, it needs to be reconciled.
Okay, that's a good one. Other,
To continue to liaise with. Maybe funds.
Yep.
For those of you who weren't here last meeting or don't recall, we were talking about whether or not there was a vehicle in place to raise, where people could donate, there was a nonprofit or some other even if it wasn't a nonprofit, but trails.
We can't hear things.
I can't hear either.
What we're, so for those of you who either weren't here last month or don't remember, one of the things we were looking at was following up with the town about a potential vehicle for raising funds, and whether it was a nonprofit that they were looking at had set up, or some other mechanism so that we could take in or share funds raised by the town for trail projects, for our fair, for things like that. And so followed up with Tony, and there had been something that they were working on, but it went defunct. He says that he is now in the process of looking to see if he can come up with some sort of other either small entity or account or fund that you can use. And I've helped entities do this in the past, where you can raise, have something that's a general purpose donation type vehicle that people can use. And I think they were talking about the Shady Trail as a potential test pilot project for this. And we're looking. So I'm going to follow up with him to see, if they need help. I have contacts with cheap lawyers or law firms who might do this on a pro bono basis to see if they can help as well. And I'm going to follow up with that. But anyway, something that we could use as extra funds to fund some of these projects that we identify.
I think that's fantastic, because we do need that now. And just for anybody who doesn't know, Tony McFarland is finance head of the town, so.
Yeah, so last I heard from Betsy Morgenthaler that the town accepted the donations, and the town was able to apply the donations to the contract to repair Shady Trail, and the contract has been signed. So it's gone full circle from donation to the donation getting into a town fund, to that fund then funding a contract, and contract getting signed. So something's in place, whether it's going to work long-term or not. And I just got that email maybe a week ago.
yeah, I think that one of the key things that I would like us to make sure we can do is, if people are going to donate, they're rewarded with tax deduction. And I think that's the key thing that we've got to set up. I think in this case, folks were, I don't know whether they're going to be able to claim a tax deduction or whether they care, but I think long-term raising funds, that would be a really good thing for us.
Yeah, because anybody can donate to town or city for a project. Maybe you could also be donating to something the city's going to do that's going to give you, your own property, some sort of benefit, which maybe not a tax deductible end. So there's I think two different things where the city can get it and do a project. But if we're going to try and encourage larger donations, or people who want to do this as part of an annual giving, having something. I know people, if you have I can give 10 grand a year and just have that earmarked and get a tax deduction for it, it might be something that'd be more palatable for some folks to do regularly.
Do I understand that you have $20,000 already?
Yeah, well, I believe that's what the contract was for Shady Trail.
20 some.
And how much is the project going to cost?
I think it's 20,000.
That's all?
Yeah.
Because I thought when Howard was here, he was going on about some problem with moving it over. You had to get permission from the blah, blah. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't here. So
No.
that's all been approved then?
Yeah.
Great,
Came through with a very novel approach using some existing.
wonderful.
It doesn't sound like it's necessarily maybe the longest term fix, but it's a fix.
Okay, great.
It's maybe not the most over-engineered solution. Susan? So I have a couple of things to mention. I think it's important to have community engagement. So maybe at least one town hike a year and maybe some kind of trail project. Get the community involved so they know what great work we do. The other thing I'd like to mention as far as a trail is concerned is Eagle Trail. I don't know if anybody has been on it lately, but that is in danger of falling into the creek.
Yeah.
I'm sure horses will not go on that trail. And I don't know how much it will cost to move it in, but it would be a shame to lose that trail because as the years have gone by, more and more yellow caution tape is on that trail. So,
And it's totally doable to move it,
yeah.
those parts up towards Alpine Road. That would
Exactly.
be perfectly
There's
fine.
enough flat land to do that. So I would like to add that to the list.
I tried to see if it could be another Eagle project, but apparently you have to create something new. You can't fix something, which is unfortunate.
Mary, did that go in with the Blue Oaks trails? Did Eagle go in with the Blue Oak project? Well, I'm just wondering where the easements came from, what,
It's town property.
is on town property?
Yeah, I believe the town owns the land.
Then the town could just take a tractor and go in there anytime and widen.
I think that's true.
And then-
Yeah,
I
I-
think the tractor would be the one.
Yeah.
I know you're joking because the tractor would probably fall into the creek, but
But I think it's
What?
it is something that we
Above-
can
yeah.
action.
yeah,
Cut into the hill, you dump it in the creek, you can.
well, it's getting to be more than one section.
Yeah,
That's the
it's at
problem.
least
I
two
was on it
sections.
like last week and I was shocked. Yes, no, but I had
Well,
to
after the
really-
rain, when that section is really soft and soggy, it does feel a little, you want
Dicey.
to watch your step.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Other ideas? Sure. What do you want to say about Palmer? Here, we
From the, it's a bit erratic. I think we can talk about it because I've had so much construction there that there's hardly any trail heading up to make the loop that goes back down to Cherokee. So I think they've had somebody who lives there used to call in all the time and mention that it needs work, but Howard, I think, looked at it and said that they try and do what they can, but with the construction, they've sort of imposed restrictions on the trail, so you have to kind of go out into the street. So maybe I'll take a look and take some pictures or something and see if we can restore it.
Yeah, maybe what we have here is just, I think, sort of key trails that need some sort of non-standard maintenance, I guess I'll say. We can put Eagle and Palmer in there, and then we can probably put Minoka. Is there a trail in there? Yeah, that is a good one too. No, I know.
You know, there's a kind of a systemic problem of parking on trails again. I think probably everybody's noticed that because the sheriff's not in town anymore. And construction projects also parking on the trails, again, because we don't have our own building official to be able to go out there and do anything. And I asked this person's not with the town anymore, I don't even remember his name, two building officials ago to ask the folks on Fawn to move their big cement mixers off the trail, and they said he'd go out there the next day. Well, the next day they were still out on the trail, the day after, and they stayed there until the project was completed. So some form of, communication mechanism and maybe enforcement mechanism to clean that up, because it's really becoming a problem. I don't think you can drive down any trail right now and not find a car parked.
Yeah, and if the trail's adjacent to a road,
Yeah, yours, parking
Yeah.
area.
They do have somebody, I think, on staff who's permit enforcer that I call when somebody slurry seals the driveways. The previous fellow left and they've got another person now, a lady. And she's the one, I guess, who does things like that. But she's also, just temporary.
but I think raising to the council that this is a like to see addressed, I think is very reasonable to do. for her. We've got 9 items so far. I'll just kind of recap them. There's sort of the new trails, resolving the easement issue on Sawzell. We've got the Portola Terrace follow-up, the Hawthorns, conditional use permit, the fundraising, community engagement, fixing key trails that need sort of more than just your standard maintenance. We've got Eagle, Palmer, Minoka in there. Any other ones that we want to add there?
So I actually have one, and I don't know if this is much of a question or just a question or an agenda item. Is so for example, one of my goals for the
We
year.
can't hear, thank you.
It's shocking because nobody ever accuses me of not being hearable. So it's a microphone issue. So sorry about that. So one of my goals for the year, on a personal level, that I'm not sure if this is just a question or if this is an agenda item, is to start utilizing our town trails with my horses and trailering them over. And so I have no idea where I can or can't park my trailer. I have a steep driveway, so I'm not pulling into my driveway. I know sometimes I've probably lobbed my truck onto, not with a trailer, but on Shawnee Pass off of Cervantes. I'm not sure if I'm then blocking a trailer and being one of those scofflaws. But are there areas that are either existing or that we should begin to encourage for equestrians who might want to come and partake of our trails? And where can you pull up in trailer? Is it right here? Are there places where you don't have to cross roads and can stay, for example, in that central area where Shady is and all that? And do we need to establish that? Is it just something that we need to have communicated, or I need to do a better job of looking on our town websites?
I think the only area really is at the town center on the dirt there. That's
Oh,
where I see
and what
it.
about at the Windy Hill parking lot? I've seen
The way-
trailers there. Is
What?
that
Yes,
legal?
But it is, yes, they can. It's just that a lot of cars parked there too.
And I
so it
guess-
may
Yeah,
not be-
right,
My,
right.
my question maybe then is more specific to the neighborhood, like all the trails that we've talked about today. I think would be, I love riding, or I usually ride through the back of Web Ranch and up through. And, but like, I'd love to be able to park. I don't know if I would be allowed, if I'm breaking law, if I park my trailer for a couple hours on Shawnee in that area. Are there other spots? Because those are some of the most beautiful riding trails all through there. And are there, should we try to establish some places to park, or if
I-
there are existing places where you could do it without blocking that we should share?
Mary?
Ellie beat
Go
me
ahead.
to it. The one that we've designated that has never been posted is the one right here next to the town, behind the bathrooms there. And that was in the plan, the original plan, in the design of the town center. And people are very reticent to park there because there's no sign saying it's okay to park. So, but it was on the original plan, and it needs, that institutional information needs to go forward. And so getting it used is part of the problem.
Yeah. So
Getting it-
how about I suggest this? We do 2 things. We identify where you can park a horse trailer in town. And then we get that on our map, a trail map. And then we get some signs where.
I think there's a problem if you publish signs saying, it's okay to park on Shawnee horse trailers, it's okay to park on Farm Road. I think people might complain. I think generally you can park anywhere around town as long as it's not obstructing driveways. I live on Willowbrook, trailers are parked there as long as it's in a safe spot and you're not obstructing the driveway. So
And I'm not leaving
I
it there
just
for
think that
weeks or
if
something.
they suddenly say, oh, Willowbrook is the place to park horse
Yeah.
trailers,
I'm
you'll
not
get
I'm not suggesting that we highlight, park your horse trailer in front of this house or on this street.
Well, the
Go to Mary's house, maybe. I'm kidding. More so, give people guidelines. So there are this spot here
is official.
we could highlight that, but we're not going to go put signs all around town and say park your horse trailer here. But I think but giving people guidance. And so for example, if you are on what would it be? The southeast side of Cervantes, you're probably going to be parking on the trail. So that's, don't park there. And highlighting for people not to park on the trails, I think is good. But then saying, we've got town center, maybe giving people guidance on, if you are going to park on a street, here's the guidelines, or, whatever the rules of the road or rules of San Mateo County are, we can point them to that. But I do think pointing people in the right direction, giving some information, but not just sort of encouraging people to yeah, everybody bring your horse trailer here and park in front of all these people's houses. I don't think that's going to end well. I agree with you.
Because I do know some folks who would love to come over and who have their horses at Webb or otherwise and ride sort of the trails on that side of Alpine. And some people are like, I can hop up and down with my horse, no problem. I ride with some people who they need a mounting block on and off. So if you park on this side of the road and you got to get off, walk your horse across, figure out how to find a log to get back on, it's sort of less. Are you trying to encourage people to come and use? Is there a spot? Is there something we can figure out?
Mary, it would be nice to figure out what's going on with Ford Field parking, because we used to park horse trailers there, but now it's full of parking from Alpine Inn. And same thing with the soccer field next to Alpine Inn. We used to park there and ride in. And they're great areas for that because they're so big, good turnarounds, but now they're full of cars from a privately owned business. So I would love to get some clarification on whether we could still use those. Thursdays over here, you can't park. Georgia Lane's a great place to park, although I don't know if that's official.
They had some signs some years ago saying no people waiting for the kids to come from Almondale were supposed to park down there, but now I see people out
They do it all the
parking.
time.
But it could just
But
be
it's,
private.
they park at the very end. If you park kind of just across the street from where the house is that has the ponies, I think it's fine there. This street going down the Spring Down has always been a good place to park.
But to Jeff's point, in the neighborhoods, there's nowhere, pretty much, unless you know somebody and park in their
Well,
driveway.
So legally, I mean, look at landscapers park their trucks in the street all the time.
They park on the trail.
No, they park on the street too.
Well,
But
There's,
my-
regardless,
some
but
of both.
Yeah,
There's the
my
other
point
thing.
is legally, there's probably a lot of things you can do that you probably shouldn't do, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, and if
so
you're
finding places that are both legal and
safe.
safe, convenient, right? A turnaround, so you're
But
not
it-
backing into someone's driveway.
In the interest of making us efficient here, I do think this is an issue that's worth having someone
do
spend
too.
some time,
Yeah.
some thought into helping it. And I think
I'm
Jeff,
happy to-
Jeff, you're
I'm
gonna get,
happy-
it's gonna get assigned to you. I
Yeah,
think.
no, 100%.
But I
Would
think that's
help some people around that.
I remember Woodside had a big to-do about this. Do you remember that, Ellie, when they were trying to close off certain streets that would get you into the center trails? And they really got nasty. So just heads up that
Don't cross,
some people are sensitive to this kind of
cross
thing.
the equestrian. That's right. Okay, so we've got 10 items. I mean, that's a pretty solid list. If there's anything else that, go
But
ahead,
then,
Ellie.
but then we still have the horse fair and the trail things coming. Is that,
Yeah, I think those are the sort of ongoing things that we always do. I think we'll include. But if there are other new things we want to add, yeah. Barb?
I was just gonna say, yeah, we need to include horse fair / hike because our budget was halved, as it turns out, last year. So if anybody wants to contribute to the horse fair, we would love your money because otherwise, well, I think this council's paying for half of it. So
What's the
Um,
shortfall?
yeah, do we know? what
it's
it
at
is?
least 2,000, maybe 2,500. And that's because the vendors who bring live animals, which of course, we love it.
the
and the
horses.
carriage ride, that's eating our whole budget. So, and they are what they are. So,
I think I'll put horse fair, the hike in the community engagement piece, trail project.
That sounds like a great thing to hit up, like Steinbeck, somebody who makes a lot of money off of all of us for sponsorship. No.
Can I
Yes.
make an informational,
Yeah, go ahead.
or a piece of information? I've been looking at funding at Los Altos Hills and Woodside and how they fund trail maintenance. Because, and it was interesting, and I'm just putting it out there as information. But one thing they have is a fee, a purchase fee, so that, which is 5%, something, a good number. I know what it was. It was $100 per square foot, $50 per square foot of building went to trail maintenance. So that basically people, when they moved in, they bought a part of an 83-mile trail system as they moved in. And that's the way Los Altos Hills is structuring its income. The other thing that I've been working on is, we don't do that barn inspections, and we don't have barn fees being collected anymore. And I finally got it on the budget. I know it's mixed feelings among people who own horses. They don't necessarily want people to know, but from a safety point of view, it is probably a good idea to know where the horses are. And each horse in Woodside pays $50 a year. And that way the town knows where the horses are, the evacuation can be in place.
Yeah.
And the safety issues can be, and in the old days, people would call me and say, Mary, you just brought in a third horse if you paid your fees. And so people, it was something that gave the neighbors a chance to say, well, she bought her. She's allowed to have that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I do believe you can't have more than 5 horses. Is that right? too?
It depends
Depending on
your
the
lot
acreage.
size. But at any rate, the point is there are various different ways of funding, and the one we had in place got dropped.
Okay.
So we need to decide, we don't necessarily need to go back to that one.
Yeah.
Because this fee issue, if you're having a lot of multi-use trails, is a good one and would give us a substantial amount of money. But from the evacuation and safety point of view, the fee issue is real.
Yeah.
And just the recognizing that this is a component of the town, which I got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, so a question for you, because I was actually looking into, there used to be a stable on my property, and then it got converted to a basketball court, and I was not a basketball player, so I was going to revert. And one of the things I saw in the town materials is the annual horse fees. So that's no longer collected or done. When I would have been given money for nothing then. Apparently, I was ready to write checks.
That's,
There used to be a stable inspector, and I think
Right.
some of that money went to pay for the stable inspector, and the stable inspector disappeared some years ago. I don't.
And then-
I think it's just one of those things that kind of got dropped.
Sure.
And.
Well, I think actually
We have people who are willing to do it. in
we
short.
do, because I think Howard Young put it to the committee, he said if somebody wants to go around and collect the fees, and I think there were no offers, but the inspector also did something else. She also checked that your facility was clean and proper and you disposed of manure properly and didn't dump it in the creek. So that's, I thought, was the main point of the inspector. So, and then,
Well, I think so. Let's
Mosquito fish.
let's maybe group this with kind of funding for trails. We've got public funding, raising funds. We've got opportunities for various fees, things that are already in place, resurrecting them. That seems like very easy thing to do. It also has some great safety features of knowing where horses are, knowing that they're being kept well, all of those kinds of things. So that sounds great.
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I thought that's a great idea to have new homeowners pay a slight tax on when they move in for the trails. Would that be very hard to initiate? Does
no.
it need a legal act, a ton of attorneys?
I mean, it sounds like Los Altos is doing it. So,
I mean, it's a parcel tax of some sort, presumably, so you'd have to have either, I'm assuming it's some sort of city council referendum, a town vote. It affects the seller's property because now you're adding a failure. But the amount that she's talking about is,
Insignificant.
it's just, relatively small.
although if you're buying a 15,000 square foot house, not insignificant.
Yeah, 50 different.
You're not.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea because it would raise a substantially larger amount of money and it would be shared equally, right? Nothing against stable inspections, but then you would wonder, do we need to start inspecting bicycles that are on the trail? Do we need to start inspecting, this or that, right? It opens a can of worms. So
Yeah.
the idea, and do we need to be a charter city to do this or can we do it now? Do we need to be a charter city to impose this fee or can we do it now? I think that's a great idea.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Barbara, Brenda.
So, yeah, I have two new neighbors on either side of me and both of them, to kind of, hi, welcome to the neighborhood. I've definitely beefed up talking about the trail system. And, because I live on Shady Trail and they both didn't know about it because we can enter through, the trail, the easement going down through Golden, Hills. That's the end of the cul-de-sac where I live. And, but anyways, but both of them said, one of the reasons they came to Patrol Valley is the open, they wanted open space and one's coming from Burlingame, the other one's coming from San Jose area. And so I think having some sort of fee, or I don't know, a fee sounds better than tax. I don't know how it could be worded and legally how, that would work.
Nope.
But,
Brenda, we lost you.
oh, you can't hear, can you hear me? I can hear you guys. I can hear you. You can't hear me? I can hear you.
Yeah, hey,
Can you-
Brenda, we lost you. It looks
Yeah.
like maybe our
Us-
internet connection is unstable. So if you could repeat your
Can you hear
neighbor
me
Shady
now?
Trail. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. So anyways, long story short is I don't think new people would at all balk at, a $100 per parcel, whatever fee. I think new people would love the fact they're coming to a neighborhood and town where there's beautiful trails to walk on and ride horses on. So I think that I'd be all in favor of that.
Yeah. So we'll include that as just sort of trail funding. I think generally speaking, I think is an item that we should be focused on. Great idea.
Yeah.
Okay. That's 11 items. I think I don't know if we can prioritize all of those. So I think that's a good start. Or what I'll do
Fred?
is
Just remembered the other part of my research was try to figure out how the different communities represented themselves to governance, to the town council. And Woodside has a livestock and heritage committee that works on that angle. And Los Altos Hills has a variety, like multiple different committees that all touch on it. But I was thinking, and I'm not supposed to influence, and I try not to influence, but that we could have a better approach in Portola Valley. We do things better. Maybe do something like One Health, which is a concept that came from the Center for Disease Control, which has to do with disease, a group that understands about wildlife and livestock and migration systems, and have that principle sort of pull together the various different committees. So I'm backing away from the microphone because that was the information I gained from looking at those other governances, that they hadn't really solved it. The livestock and heritage,
it's one angle. Yeah.
Fred, it looks like we have a couple hands up.
Okay.
Christy C and Rita.
Yeah. Christy, why don't you go ahead?
Thank you. I liked Gary's ideas of protecting the trails from the building trucks. And I do believe the town's doing, well, I'll get to the next study in a minute, but the Willows Commons is double parking on either side of the trail and often blocking the trail. And I'm calling lots on this, and my concern is when you double park, if we were to have an earthquake or a fire come through, they're blocking our emergency exit in a double way. And it's not as beautiful to walk down the trail when it's double parked. So how can we have the planning department in their approval permit process write a sentence that alludes to this, that there is no parking on trails or double parking on either
It's-
side?
Yeah, it's, so when we get projects, we request that there's a parking plan, if it's near a trail, that they don't. There are processes in place. I just think that they are not following it.
So I've had
that's the simple
to call
truth
the,
of it.
yeah, I've had to call
And I
the
don't know that we-
sheriff.
I don't know if
and-
we have an enforcement mechanism. So
You can call the building and planning department. There is, Fred's right, there is a staging plan in place that points out where they're permitted to park and where they're not. Howard was going to have them rebuild that section of trail when they're done, so that has to be enforced as part of the final approval. I hope that doesn't get dropped. Whether they can double park, I don't know, but they were allowed to park at least on one side of the trail, but the trail had to stay open during construction. And they could not put any hazards on the trail without, demarcation and then resolving them. So it's all in place. It just needs to be enforced.
Maybe we need to say no double parking because they weren't at the beginning and then they started doing it because it's convenient.
So just we're in a specific topic right now. I think relaying this to the town is the right way to go. The committee can't take any further action for you on this item. So is there anything
Okay.
else that you wanted to discuss on our
Yeah,
topic of
Hawthorne's-
2025 goals?
Yes, Hawthorne's Trail at the corner of Portola Road and Alpine. We could discuss it with the 50 parking lot. How will the Alpine Trail go across an entrance
Yep.
that 50
We
cars
have-
go in and out?
So I'm not sure if you joined late or not. We have that as an item that we are going to prioritize for next year. The
Okay,
Hawthorne's-
and then number 3,
Conditional.
that's good. And number 3 would be adding to the Nexus study that's to come out in July, the fees that you're just talking about. I think it's an excellent idea, $50 to $100 for every person that purchases a house and, and getting our revenue back. In fact, Recreation last night, they didn't know if their fees for renting out recreation land was on the Nexus study. So this also should be evaluated for the Nexus study and in fact added at a later time if it's not, because this is revenue and we're in a deficit and I'm all for it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Christy. Rita. Your hand's still up?
What?
Okay, sorry, just trying to unmute.
No problem.
But thank you for, what brought me to this town is our beautiful trails. After a couple of years of hiking and walking and picking up garbage on these trails with someone that's lived here for a long time, it's what made me want to come
You
to
can hear
Portola
us. We
Valley.
lost you, Rita.
Oh, and build my house. Sorry, am I back yet? Am I back? I can hear you.
You can hear us.
Okay. Can you hear me? I
Yes.
can hear you.
Okay, go ahead, Rita.
Okay, I just want to say that the trails is what brought me to this town to build my house. But I want to say that this community has, we're not just our own community. We have all these people with Windy Hill and now the Hawthorns and with so many things coming to our town. And for a resource to maintain the trails, we could use and tap into the Noon Ride people, the Sierra Club people. And I don't know if you're aware of, but if people that run ultra runners, the ultra runners, they have to do trail maintenance points in order as part of their application. And we have access to that group. They can come to our town. So when we're looking at resources, we don't need to just look at our neighbors. We need to look at who uses our town and kind of encourage them because they love our town too. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's great. That's one of the great things about the Trail Center. has been that they attract a lot of those folks. And as someone who has had to volunteer to participate in ultras, I'm very much aligned with that. Okay, we are, I think, approaching diminishing returns in terms of new items. I don't know that we'll get to all of these. What I will do is write this up, and we will. I think our next meeting is actually before our presentation to the council. I think it's a week before, so we will have another discussion in terms of stack ranking these, I guess is what I'll say, at our next meeting on April 16th. Any other? There's nothing else on our agenda, so can I get a motion to adjourn? Okay, Susan? All right. We are adjourned at 9:58. Carrie, can you begin?
Okay.
Acknowledge that anywhere we have get back. Live look at the White House briefing room where we expect Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt to address the fight over Way down. Yeah. Is it?
not quite sure how that was funny, John. And talking down an American stock, shareholders losing value, a job potentially lost. I'll let viewers decide.
And then you have the Minnesota Governor, Tim Walz, who did a little video where he's holding up his phone saying, hey, I've got the stock market app here and I added Apple and I'm so happy to see the stock going down. I mean, there are tens of thousands of people who are employed by the
Oh, you fucker. Goddamn fucker. Ah. Ah. No, I just I was tempted and then I got home like I know we don't do my house. If I'm gonna it's never yeah no yeah no they have it out in the 14.99 yeah. Thank you. Now to go, do I have to go back through this way? I would like you to come in the main door if you don't. Okay. Wait, sorry.
I don't want to leave that. Yeah. Yes, we have just pineapple. We don't have pineapple, only the whole one.
Yeah, the whole one. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
We don't have that for a while. I don't know why.
Yeah, I know it was.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, that's okay. I got this.
Oh, look at the good one. I'm gonna order here.
Right now, like six painters. Contractor. Hey, about you guys. But I'm profiting out of the whole thing. Oh, you spread them all over the place? Not that one. No, it's one house though. Oh. What? Are you kidding? Yeah, but I don't have it. Give me one when you see me one, okay? What do you do? Anything you want? Yeah, anything I did. 50, the number. It's one
Thank you for showing me. Please begin scanning. 31, 99, or 6, $. 49. Thank you for shopping. 99. Place item in the tray area. 49. 2, 99. Place your item in the tray area. 2, 99. 99. If you are finished, done, please 99. Item. Follow the instructions of the thing. Follow the instructions on the clean bag. Thank you for shopping at Coffee Bar. Please scan your membership card or touch the assistant. It's your item.
Are you gonna be here? No? Yeah.
President Trump was first to provide in his efforts towards peace. The leaders agreed Ukraine and America will continue working together to bring about a real end to the war, and that lasting peace under President Trump's leadership can be achieved. President Trump fully briefed President Zelensky on his conversation with Putin and the key issues discussed. Agreed to work. The two leaders also agreed on a partial